Tariq Radio, like and subscribe. Tariq Radio, like and subscribe.
They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field at the combine, his dad didn't help him either. You know, he was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. But, you know, when you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about if you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. I mean, he's very high on himself. And I think he was very off-putting to many, many coaches and general managers in the league. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people in the NFL this weekend, they didn't even have him on their board. They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. And I don't blame him.
All right, I'm in the building. What's up, man? I'm in the building, family. I'm in the building. Round of applause to you. Round of applause to you guys. Respect to you. Respect to Allah. Respect to the law. Respect to all. Man, I'm here. I know some of y'all were wondering, is he going on? Is he coming on? Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I was just doing stuff around the crib. But I'm here. Wasn't going to leave y'all hanging. I'm in the building, man. And you guys in the building, so give me a retweet. Let everybody know we're live. I know we got a lot of the foreign fam who's listening in this time of the hour. Shout out to the UK and people overseas who are outside of the US. And let me give a real quick shout out to some of the regulars in the room. We got Brother Mikal in the building, Sister Empress in the building, Anubis in the building, Platinum Ike, Ernez, Hoodoo, Maroc. We got Welsing, Highland, Ty Powell, Amplify, Morning, Mr. R, Little Old Me, Rhonda. So many people. Y'all just come on in and let's chop it up, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get calls early. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. And when I say that, we end up being on here for 3 damn hours or so. But I'm here. I'm here ready to chop it up and all that good stuff. First thing I'm going to discuss, ladies and gentlemen, people have been talking about Shedeur Sanders and the draft and him getting drafted and how the league kind of stalled him out on the draft. He should have been a first-round draft pick. Everybody knows that, but the league was trying to send a message. And I saw a video today. My good brother Mikal sent me a video of like some NFL insiders, quote unquote, basically, in so many words, admitting that there was some type of collusion against Shedeur. This sports analysis, I don't know what the guy's title is, but he was saying that he was speaking to some of the owners and coaches and all of that, and some of them just took Shedeur's name off the list. And he was using the old excuse, well, they didn't like how he was talking in interviews. He was saying this, and his dad was saying that. So it was never about talent or lack thereof. All right. This had nothing to do with talent. Because some of the white supremacists kept trying to say, well, he just wasn't good. Nah, he is. He was better than some of the people that were getting picked over him. That's what was confusing people. See, once you understand how systematic white supremacy works, you don't get confused. It's just white supremacy. It's white supremacy. It's not rocket science. Don't let people sit here and tell you it ain't about race when it is. Yeah, all races try to say it ain't about race. Yeah, it is. Sometimes it's about race, ladies and gentlemen. My thing is this black family, we don't have to wait on them to make a confession. That's the thing. I want us to get into the mindset of identifying suspected white supremacists, letting them know we see you, and then we go on about our business. We don't have to spend time going back and forth with them waiting on a damn confession from them. That's never going to come. They'll deny it um, till their teeth fall out. No matter how much evidence is there, they'll sit there and just deny it nonstop. That's what white supremacy is about: practicing something and then denying that you're doing it. That's the epitome of gaslighting. So, yeah, I don't waste my time going back and forth with white supremacists too long, trying to convince them to confess. They're never going to do that. So when I see them practicing anti-black racism and white supremacy, we identify it for what it is, and then we work harder to replace that system with a system of justice. But basically, the whole narrative was like, well, Shedeur seemed entitled. He was talking about, yeah, if you want to win, if your team wants to win, you should pick me. Well, that just sounds like entitlement. Listen, that's confidence, and he's telling the truth. Look, he's a winner. He can turn things around. They don't like black people with confidence. That's what it is. It's just not rocket science. It's not rocket science. And just understand something. This goes beyond just sports. We have to understand and use this as a teaching tool to understand white supremacy as a whole. Because you got to understand there's always this desire to put black people in their place. Yeah, it was former Bengals quarterback um, Boomer somebody. He said it. Okay. So I guess he was corresponding with some of the NFL owners and other coaches, and they kind of let him know what was going on. But like I'm saying, we got to understand that white supremacist society as a whole, there's a need to put black people in our place whenever we show too much independence, pride, or self-determination. That's a reality, ladies and gentlemen, because it happens all the time. Back in the day, in the Jim Crow era, they would be very open about it. If a black person was just a little too confident, if you looked white folks in the eye, I mean, that was a crime. We got to understand that it was called reckless eyeballing. If you looked a white person in the eye, that was some shit they would criminalize you about. Just having confidence as a black person, having your head up. The remnants of that Jim Crowism is still there. Whenever black people just a little too confident, oh, he's uppity. Are you being an uppity Negro? You see, I want y'all to understand white supremacy, they see black autonomy as a disruption of the natural order. In the worldview of white dominance, society must have a visual racial hierarchy. And see, when black people or black communities, when we start functioning independently without seeking validation, approval, or access through white systems, that triggers a need to correct the imbalance and reassert dominance. That's why these people start colluding immediately behind the scenes. And understand, and I keep reiterating this, public black excellence without white sponsorship is always treated as defiance. Black success that is not tied to white approval or any type of white gatekeeping, that's not seen as a triumph. That's looked at as a challenge to the system. The dominant society, they can tolerate black advancement only when they can claim some role in orchestrating it or allowing it. Now, without that, it feels like insubordination. Family, why do you think the white media never talks about hidden colors? The white media never talks about hidden colors. Our documentary, which is the biggest selling Black history documentary series ever, they know what those numbers are. They saw those lines around the corner in movie theaters all around. They saw those box office numbers that we were doing independently. They just kind of put their fingers in their ears and act like they didn't see it. Oh, they saw it. They know. They don't promote it. They never promoted it. Now they'll attack me. Now the white media, they attack the shit out of me. but they won't mention the movie though. They'll say filmmaker, activist Tariq Nasheed, race baiter Tariq Nasheed, but they don't like to admit that we did a documentary film that was outselling their films, and we did it independently without any approval. And we were going in on their asses in the movies. Yeah. Family, listen, the movies got me banned from a whole damn country. You know what I'm saying? The movie was doing phenomenal out there in the UK. The UK told me, don't ever bring my black ass over there no more. They, nigga, we're gonna lock you up in Buckingham Palace. Don't ever get your ass over here no more. I can't go to you. I cannot go to the UK to this day. You see, that's the impact of that film. And the white media, they don't like talking about it because any type of black autonomy, black excellence, without them giving the stamp of approval, it's persona non grata to them. But it's still a thing. That's why we got to understand our power. The power of the grassroots, man, we really got to recognize the power that we have, ladies and gentlemen. We really got to respect it. Because, see, black confidence, man, that's treated and interpreted like rebellion, not a right. See, there's an unspoken expectation that black people must carry all this emotional residue, shame, guilt, humility about their place in society. And when you don't have that residue, and when it's absent, and black people start to be self-assured, uh-oh, they're getting uppity. Uh-oh, they're planning something. Uh-oh, what are they about to do? They're gonna do something. There's some insubordination. Uh-oh, we got to do some investigating. We got to do some surveillance on them. Yeah. Remember when we did the rally for reparations, both of them. Y'all saw all those undercovers, some of those undercovers that were in the audience, they were sticking out like sore thumbs. You might as well worn a damn FBI jacket. Some of them were sticking out like sore thumbs. And shout out to you guys because y'all were pointing all of them out. Anybody in the audience who looked questionable, people kept eyes on them. They were surrounding them and just kept eyes on them. Y'all didn't take your eyes off them people. We were making sure wasn't nobody gonna try no funny business. There was a couple of folks out there who looked real out of place. It was on some Where's Waldo shit. Folks out there, white boys out there with backpacks, and their people they were on their bumpers. They were on their damn bumpers. You see. And we saw little snipers. They had snipers on the roof and all that old stuff, and feds on the roof watching. So that's to be expected. Anytime black excellence is there, the dominant society, they go on alert. Because, I've said this before, black dignity that doesn't center white comfort, that seemed as dangerous. See, this demand to be humble, they got to humble black people all the time. When we prioritize our own legacy, our own identity, our own cultural pride, without centering them and caring about their feelings, that's always a problem. That they feel like that's a rejection of them. And white supremacy, they punish rejection of them. You see? And the system is always threatened by generational black power, not just individual talent. See, it's not just about the individual like Shedeur or Dion. It's not just about them. It's about what they represent. See, it's about what happens when black excellence is structured, when black excellence is sustained and inherited. See, white supremacy, they feel safe when black people succeed in isolation, meaning it's like a humbug. Yeah, like some cat, he grew up in the hood and he could throw good, and some white person found him and got him and trained him. They like it in isolation. They like it to seem like it's an outlier. You know what I'm saying? So they don't like when it's a systemic thing within black society to cultivate excellence. They don't like that. which they always tell us we need to do better, but when we do better, we get criticized and we get targeted even more. You see? And this whole Shedeur thing and them trying to reprimand, because that's what this draft thing was like, a reprimand for Shedeur. That's like a symbolic punishment and, yeah, by proxy to all of us. See, when one black person is publicly humbled, it ain't just about them. It's a warning to all of us. Hey, y'all don't get no ideas. Don't get too uppity because we'll give you this kind of treatment too. It's to send a message. It's to scare all the other black people back into submission. And just like they did with Colin Kaepernick, that was to let, hey, y'all don't be out here taking a stand or taking a knee because we'll blacklist you and get you up out of here. You see? And the thing is, black pride, when we have pride about ourselves, they pathologize that, while white pride is institutionalized. See, when we exhibit any kind of pride through fashion, speech, confidence, ownership, or anything, well, that's arrogant. That's aggressive. You're rubbing people the wrong way. You sound entitled, you see? Now, white pride, it's built into institutions. It's built into the history books. I mean, you can put statues of white people up and flags and just everything. You can't give whites enough praise. That's the thing. You can't praise them enough. If a black person pops his collar just a little bit, just if you ain't bowing down, oh God, look at you. Oh, you're just so entitled and uppity. You don't have the temperament for this institution. You got statues and plaques of white people left and right bragging about how great they are. You see? See, white supremacists, see, they can't fully dominate a spirit that they can't define. See, foundational Black Americans in particular, we carry a cultural and spiritual resilience that white supremacy, they've never really been fully able to decode. They've never fully been able to contain it or colonize it. We haven't been collectively colonized psychologically as foundational Black Americans. See, that's always been the problem, ladies and gentlemen. And that mystery, that's terrifying to a system built on predictability and control. See, they like to predict things and, they like to control the way things are going to flow. So when a Black person, when you get a little too confident, they gotta humble that black person because it's not just racial, it's racially metaphysical. This is why, again, they always go out here to try to get these athletes from Africa now. Because listen, I'm not trying to beat up on Africa. They understand for the most part, psychologically, they're colonized. They're not going to make no trouble. Psychologically, they're colonized. We, on the other hand, foundational Black Americans, ladies and gentlemen, we're a wild card. They never know when we might turn up. You understand? We are the only people who turn up on these folks. I want y'all to understand that. We're the only people who consistently, the key word is consistent. I ain't talking about what you did 200 years ago. No, no, no. I'm talking about consistently. They never know when we say, hey, well, you know what? Give me that Molotov cocktail for these niggas. They never know when we're going to go there with it. And they're always trying to figure it out. That's why they did the, was it the Kerner Commission? Was it the Kerner? Was that the Kerner report in the 60s? I think was it the Kerner report? If I'm not mistaken, I'm having a little brain fart, but I think it was the Kerner Commission when they had a book. They had a whole thick ass book trying to figure out why black folks was turning up in the damn 60s. And hold on, let me make sure that's it. Hold on. I think it's the Kerner Commission. Hold on. Let me double check, family. I like to be right and exact. I want to say it was the Kerner Commission. Yes, that's what it was. I was right. I was right. Yeah, it was also called the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. They had to do a whole study back in '67 because there were that long red hot summer. Oh, I got my brother. Oh, Randy Short is in here. Oh, good. I want my brother to cook. Hold on. But yeah, they um they had to do a whole study on why we were rising up on these folks. We were turning all the way up around the country, and they were confused. They're like, "Damn, these Negroes are whooping our asses out here. Well, what the hell is going on?" Brother Randy Short, you in here, sir?
Yes. How are you, brother Tariq?
Good. I'm great,
Oh,
Dr. Short.
oh,
How are you, sir?
man, I'm blessed, and I'm blessed you said the book. I just got a copy of the Kerner Commission study yesterday,
Wow. Let the
and I got what, and you're 100% on the money. And uh, these other people are colonized, and I wanted to just say, of course, you're doing such a phenomenal job educating the people.
Mhm.
That there is a document in the African Asian reading room at the Library of Congress. I've got to go back in there. Now I'm at the hospital with my mom. You know, it's in a month.
Yes, yes.
Uh, and the document's written in 1944 by the United States, the French, and Great Britain. And they're talking about the world after World War II, what to expect. And what was very interesting, they do all the different continents, and then they get to Africa. When they get to Africa, believe it or not, they start talking about Black Americans in the United States before they talk about the African continent. That's three world powers
Mm.
all got together before they could even talk about Africa. They talked about Black people in the United States, and that Black people in the United States would play an oversized role in the future of Africa and Black people for generations. That's in 1944 when we couldn't vote, when we were getting lynched, all of that. Their concern, and that's not just the US government, that's France that had 17 colonies in Africa, and Britain with the Union of South Africa and all of its colonies. And by the way, since the neutral countries were more or less in line with the United States, Britain, and France, all of the white countries that were not under control of the former Soviet Union or Germany were looking to America, England, and France to keep the world in order. And so when they started talking about Black people or African people, it started with Black Americans.
Mm.
And they mentioned the most advanced, the most promising, and potentially problematic element of a population of Black people was in the United States.
Mhm.
In 1944, I'll even say 45, 80 years ago, the question was what to do with American Blacks. Not Nigerians, not Ghanaians, not none of those people. There wasn't even a Ghana when that was done. I'm not mad at anyone. I'm just saying what the governments did.
Right.
And then I'm going to flip to the forward and say to you, if we went back in 1864, if you understood that the Black people fighting in the Union Army contributed to the liberation of Mexico, it contributed to the end of serfdom in Russia, ending slavery in the Spanish Empire, later Portuguese Empire, later the French Empire, and places, or at least getting rid of it. Do you follow?
Yes. Yes.
That's how influential women getting the right to vote. Literally, our little bit of tussle here, shackled and screwed, has brought freedom around the whole frigging world.
Right.
And everybody knows it except for our traders and our scam Africanists.
Mm. Mm. Yes, sir. My brother, thank you so much, Dr. Short. I appreciate you, sir. That's Dr. Short. He's going to be in the next HC6, spitting hot, hot fire, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, the thing is, just to build on what our brother was talking about and what I was saying earlier, there's this thing in relation to the whole Shedeur thing and the NFL and just the way they treat black excellence. When it comes to black dysfunction, now if we do anything janky, they make sure that white society don't own up to none of that. White society has nothing to do with anything negative in black society. That's all black culture. Anything that's remotely negative, oops, look at black culture. Oh God, you black culture. Look at what you guys do. This is just how you are. But oh, black culture, black culture. But anything white, oh, okay, well, it's the white man. We did it. We taught you. We got you out of there. See, they have to do that. That whole anything positive in black society, we have to attribute it to them. See, white supremacy needs black inferiority to justify its power. See, a black dysfunction is framed as as a self-inflicted cultural flaw that allows the dominant society to feel morally justified in maintaining the racial hierarchy. See, that shifts blame away from the systematic oppression that they do and onto the victims of that oppression. And see, this whole credit to white society thing, that reinforces the myth of white benevolence. See, anytime Black achievement is linked to white mentorship, funding, or systems, that feeds the myth that white society is the ultimate source of goodness and opportunities. And that helps uphold that image of whites as saviors rather than oppressors. That's why in most mainstream movies, if there's some type of black oppression, they like for there to be a white savior in it. Like the movie 12 Years a Slave. It was a true story about a black man up in the North. He got kidnapped and put into slavery in the South for 12 years. Remember in the movie, they crowbarred Brad Pitt as the white savior. He got saved from slavery because a good, honest white man, Brad Pitt, they just crowbarred him in there, heard about his story and wrote a letter to somebody and basically helped get him up out of slavery. So this is why they like to talk about they handpick abolitionists too, because like Harriet Tubman, and Harriet Tubman was a riot. I'm not taking anything away from my good sister Harriet Tubman, but they talk about her because she was connected to white abolitionists in the white church. So they have no problem talking about her. They don't talk about the John Horses, Osmond of the Great Dismal Swamp. He was one of the Great Dismal Swamp leaders. They don't talk about them, the Maroons who was creeping up out of them swamps, killing slave owners and going back into the swamp without getting punished. They don't talk about them real riders, them real gangsters of the Underground Railroad who was putting in some real work because they weren't working with the dominant white society. You see, so blaming black culture, that avoids them admitting to legacies of oppression. If they blame the policies that they implemented, slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration for profit, if they admitted doing that and how that attributes to the current black struggles, then they would have to admit guilt and systematic responsibility. So blaming black quote culture, that absolves them from reckoning with all of their historic crimes. You see, and them crediting white for black success, that diminishes black self-determination. See, if black success and excellence is seen as self-generated, that proves that black people can thrive independently. That threatens white supremacy. So they have to insert themselves into all the narratives of black success to maintain the illusion of dependency. See, that's why I want us to get out of that thing where we feel like we have to get things from them. No, 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 we don't need anything from them except our reparations. Excuse me. But them with that mindset of black excellence must be attributed to them, black dysfunction is a black culture thing. They do that because they have to maintain psychological control over black identity. See, black people, we internalize that the flaws in our community are our own fault, but our successes are somebody else's gift. That creates a fractured, dependent self image. You understand? And this psychological warfare that ensures that black pride can never fully mature without guilt or doubt. That's why psychologically we have to think correctly about ourselves and who these white supremacists are. This is why I always remind people, don't let them run this game on you that they did some great things over here and we were the beneficiaries of it. I always remind people, these white supremacists, when they try to form colonies here on their own, they all failed miserably. They did not do a damn thing without foundational Black Americans being right there, doing the heavy lifting, doing the real work. We have always been the secret sauce, which we are still the secret sauce. That's why there's always all eyes on us. That's why they have to distort history to hide foundational Black American contributions. I'm talking from agriculture. We saved the agrarian South with George Washington Carver, people like that, to music, to politics, to science. Foundational Black Americans, we've innovated massively despite barriers. So, giving white society credit for those achievements, see, that rewrites history to preserve the myth that progress only comes through whiteness, and that's not the case. That is not the case, ladies and gentlemen. And that narrative that protects white society from having to share credit or resources. See, if true Black genius and innovation, if it were widely acknowledged, um, there would be legitimate calls for reparations, wealth sharing, societal restructuring, and erasing or appropriating Black excellence. That protects white financial and social dominance. So anything, listen, white society, they study us. They study us and they study our potential. They study us when we're young. So they see a Black kid with any type of sports talent, intellectual talent, they get him cornered off somewhere. Oh, we got to get him because we don't want him uplifting his community. Just like that scene in the movie Trick Baby, that famous scene where these white people were around a table, these wealthy white people discussing Black people and how they find Black people who are smart and get them away from the Black masses so that they don't use their smarts, wits, and intelligence to uplift the community. They're like, oh no, we got to get him out of there. And then turn him basically into a Black version of us so that the Black community will resent him. That's a heavy scene in that movie. And you can watch that scene on YouTube. It's a powerful scene that they put in that movie. You see, but there's this whole thing that Blackness and Black strength, it has to be supervised and managed. See, the idea that Black people, we can only achieve when white people intervene, that will paint a narrative of Black society as being naturally chaotic, and whites are just the necessary civilizers. And that frames white dominance not as really domination, but law and order. You see, and that narrative where all of our greatness has to come through them, that discourages Black people from building independent institutions. See, if Black success is always tied to white systems, that makes Black-owned schools, banks, businesses, cultural hubs seem illegitimate or subpar. That's why tethers, anytime we start getting things independently, those colonized tethers are the main ones hating first, and then the white supremacists are going to hate. But you notice that anytime we start getting stuff going, the main people sitting there throwing tomatoes are the tethers. Because when we do things without white mommy, white daddy, they get offended. You know, because their whole mindset, And I'm not beating up on y'all, but their whole mindset is, hey, where's Sally Struthers to come feed me? So everything they get, every crumb you eat, there has to be a white person, a grateful white person. So they look at whites differently. So when we do things as foundational Black Americans, and we're not including the white supremacists, well, the tether class, they start attacking us. Look, have y'all noticed all these videos of tethers talking about that white Black people giving praise to Carmelo Anthony? He killed a white man. That is wrong, niggas. You notice that? There's a whole bunch of tether videos of them wagging their little goosey fingers at us about Carmelo. You understand? See, when situations like that happen, we start seeing who's who. We start seeing who the hell is who around here.
From New York Times best-selling author Tariq Nasheed comes Foundational Black American Race Baiter, the groundbreaking book shaking up the conversation on race in America. As one of the most influential voices for Black Americans today, Nasheed exposes the tactics used to manipulate, subjugate, and control Black communities. In this powerful read, Tariq Nasheed equips you with the knowledge to resist injustice and reclaim your narrative. Don't miss out on the book that's redefining the game. Foundational Black American Race Baiter, available now at officialfba.com. Get your copy today.